making money off the web.
Oh, yeah. Well, Freak, you got the next question?
Yes, indeed. Just a minute. Okay. I'm gonna skip this next one. Have you ever traveled to any part of Asia?
No, I haven't. I'd love to, though. I haven't been to Asia, and I haven't been to Europe.
Oh, neither have I. You ever want to go?
I've seen... Yeah, all right. I've seen just about every state in the United States, except for Hawaii. I've been to Alaska. And like I said, I went to Australia and New Zealand, but I've never been, and Canada, but I've never been to Europe or Asia, and I'd love to go. I know that there's some conventions out there, especially in Europe, that have voice actors out, so I'd like to get on that somehow, sometime soon.
Out there.
Sometime before the airline industry goes completely under.
Sonny Strait belongs overseas. All right, Ben, next one.
Okay, this one might be a little emotional, but what kind of kid were you in high school? What kind of kid were you in high school?
I was really popular. All the kids loved me, and they understood, and everybody understands me. I can't help it. I was a scrappy little kid. I never started any fights. I had been in a couple of fights, but my dad always told me, you don't start them, you finish them, son. And generally that didn't work out for me because I was 5'7". I was, and still am actually, but and everybody in Mesquite is about 6'5" for some reason. So, and that's where I grew up, in Mesquite, Texas. And you know, in between classes, walking down the hallways and stuff, I felt like I was walking in a forest because everyone was towering over me. But I got into theater as a freshman in high school, and I was also in band, and I was in choir. And so in Mesquite, that means that you're a fag.
A lot of other places, too.
You have to understand, Mesquite, Texas' claim to fame is that it's home of one of the world's largest rodeos. So, you know, somebody who was into the arts like I was a little bit of an outcast until I got into The Wizard of Oz. It was a play we were doing in high school, and I played the lion. And for some reason, it resonated with these rednecks in Mesquite. They loved it. And they're like, man, you're so good in that show, you made me cry, man, it's good.
It's like emo.
So all of a sudden, I became, you know, from this dorky little artistic kid, and I was popular amongst the artistic kids, but not amongst everyone else. Suddenly, football players who were like, you know, talking to me in the hallway and stuff like that, and I was able to date. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I was a bit of an art jock.
Yeah.
Your story proves that there's hope for me yet.
Yeah.
Well, Freak, you got the next one?
Indeed. So what are some of the highlights of your life so far?
Let's see. Highlights of my life so far. Probably one of the biggest highlights is that my stepdaughter Savannah came into my life about 8 years ago, and she hasn't seen her real father since she was like 4, I guess, so I'm it for dad. And I never tried being a dad, but I started being a dad to this kid, and seeing these positive changes in her life has probably been the biggest highlight of my life. Now, next to that, working for Wendy Peeney as her apprentice in California was a huge highlight. Getting published by Tokyo Pop, that was a huge highlight. Getting cast as Krillin was a huge highlight. Getting cast as Toonami Tom, the original Toonami Tom, that was a huge highlight and a major boost to my bank account.
I was so mad when they got rid of him. I was so mad.
I was too, because they paid me $400 an hour to do it.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it was a sweet run, man. Drinks were on me for 2 years.
More than doctors that go to college for like 12 years. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but you have to understand, though, it's not like a full-time job. I mean, you could have maybe 3 hours a week.
Right.
Yeah. Still, $600 a week ain't bad, So
not bad for 3 hours work. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, I had it pretty easy for a while, and I had a girlfriend at the time who, was a theater person. She's now doing off-Broadway plays in New York. But at the time, she was having to work as a waiter, and her roommate, Kate, was having to work as a waiter, too. And here I was just sitting at home most of the time because I only had to work three hours a week. They hated me.
That's gotta be great. Well, what are some things that inspired you to take the actual career path you've taken so far?
Well, I started out, like I said, in high school, trying to get into every art there was. I was in band and choir and theater, and I was in the creative writing staff of a magazine that we had called Wet Ink. And I was also the cartoonist for the school newspaper. So from high school on, I've always wanted to work in the arts. And when I was in my 20s, I used to say, if I can just pay my bills in the arts, then I will consider myself a success. And I guess that happened for me around 33 when I got cast as Krillin. All of a sudden, all my bills were being paid. And now I'm like, I look back and go, man, I should have had more ambition than that. But because I do pay my bills. I'm not rich at all, but I get by on it, which is all I really wanted anyway.
Right.
So all I really wanted, and that's what inspired me to go into these fields, is anything that's creative, I wanted to be a part of it. Even like this band, which I don't really consider this something easy for me. That's part of the reason why I like it. Same reason I like comics. Comics are a little more difficult for me than acting, and singing in a band is really difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I like the challenge of it. And if it's artistic, I like to have a part in it somehow.
Yeah. Well, Freaky Deaky.
I'm going to skip down a little bit on the list here. You get too into character.
Do what?
Do you ever get too into character?
Yeah, not so much in anime, because, you're only doing it for, short periods of time. But when I used to do a lot of theater, I would get into these characters, and I played one character once that was, he ends up in the end of the play murdering his wife. And he was a really despicable character, but he was also a character that's really likable, right? He's like really charming. So I had to play this guy that basically charms the socks off of the audience, right? And at the end, you find out how despicable he is. Yeah. And I really got into the role. It was like something that was really completely different than me, and also different than the kind of parts I usually get. I usually get like the funny, cartoony type characters, right? So after I did that show, I just felt like, oh my God, I need an exorcism or something to get rid of it, because I could hear me saying things that sounded like him, and I
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I told my girlfriend I need to do something weird. I got to do something to get this demon out of me. She goes, we'll bleach your hair. So she bleached my hair. And I was like, you know what, suddenly that ludicrous action just threw it all out. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm fine now.
Sounds like that movie, I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah.
Well, which of the characters you've actually dubbed so far reflects you as a person the most?
I would say Krillin, Maze Hughes, and Lupin the Third. Those are the closest to my personality. What's that?
That's just funny. 3 of your 4 largest roles, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I also played Seiji on Moonphase, and I played Kyuzo on Samurai 7.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like those characters, Right. But I can relate to Krillin, and Krillin, of course, was another family man.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that's very free-willing and lecherous and goofy, like Lupin too. So, yeah, those are the 3 I most relate to.
Well, Freak?
How much in general about anime did you know? Because our other guests actually mentioned this. How much about anime did you know in general before your first dubbing role?
Not a lot. I'd heard the name.